Welcome to Thought Experiment Called Life. This is where unconventional thinkers and multi-passionate makers share their journey of creating meaningful lives, built on growth, creativity, and the courage to live on their own terms. I'm Greta, a musician, a martial artist, an herbalist, and a fellow traveler through this mystery we call life. Every other Tuesday, I bring you real conversations with rule breakers and path forgers. Subscribe on Substack for more resources, mindset, tools, and more. I love talking to people who live lives that are different than what you normally see. I think I live a really different life, and it's something that I've had to kind of seek out other people to kind of help me give some framework sometimes. That's just like the way that I process information a lot, is by not necessarily I'll look for examples of things to take. Okay, I'm learning something here. I don't want to do that. I do want to do this. And I think for me, I always encountered a lot of stories that were so unusual, but sort of over the top in a way that the overachiever in me would get kind of shut down sometimes from that, right? I wanted something that I could relate to a little bit more, that felt good to me. So, So being able to have stories that are not just so-and-so did something and they became a billionaire overnight or whatever, those kinds of things, or they wrote a book and it went massive, whatever. And I think those stories are wonderful and they're inspiring, but there's so much more to life, and there's so much more experience in the small details that I think we miss when we only highlight that kind of story. So that's sort of my motivation for choosing who I want to talk to. And it can be a huge sensational story, but I like to hear when somebody can really convey why their life feels purposeful and meaningful to them. So
that was very well said. For me, it's about coming to the present moment. It's about learning to live here and now. And I teach meditation, as you came to one of my classes.
I loved it.
And there are so many benefits we can speak of when I teach meditation, and when people teach how to come in and find your inner being. But it can come with all these sensational promises. And I tend to stay away from that, because that kind of defeats the purpose. It keeps you out of coming to the present moment, and it keeps your eyes still fixated on the carrot, on the reaction, on the reward. So it's not another hustle. Meditation is not part of hustle culture. It's part of coming into the now and to the here. And so yes, there are tremendous benefits, but I like to teach to forget about those. Know that they're going to be there. They'll come when they come, as they come, but don't do it for that. Do it to meditate to meditate, be in the moment for the moment's sake, because you'll miss it if you're not. Thich Nhat Hanh has this great quote where he's talking about in one of his books about mindfulness. He says, if you cannot wash the dishes for the sake of washing the dishes, you won't be able to drink your tea afterwards. So if you're only washing the dishes to get to the tea, you won't be able to drink the tea either, because you're well practiced in not being here now, waiting for that thing after.
Absolutely. So, I love that so much. And that was really, when I did your meditation class, because I was curious. I was like, oh, this is really cool that you're doing this. And I came to, I don't really have an official, title of my practice and beliefs or whatever. I just sort of, over the years of presence and mindfulness and connecting with life as much as possible, but I always forget what I was going to say, but the way that you were talking about things is a way that I really relate to. It's a lot of familiar language in the sense that there was a point I was going to make and I totally forget it. Shoot, it'll come back to me.
It will come back. It'll come back when you stop trying. That's when
Exactly. Yeah. I know I was definitely caught up in attaining goals and trying to do something and blah blah blah. And I've had autoimmune. I got Lyme disease when I was 20, and it just it wrecked me pretty much.
Wow.
But I'm good now. I have it under control. But it taught me so much, and I'm not it was great and I learned a lot. Yeah. But from
Yeah.
that and just life circumstances, it very much, I think I know what you were saying, but getting to the tea. I think I continually came back to the lessons, and it really hit home for me like 2 years ago. Because I've been studying since I got sick, basically, probably like a few years into getting sick. I had to look at things differently. I had to just go about it differently. And it's just been a long process of just learning, hence the name of this podcast. I'm very interested in, all the different ways we can connect with ourselves and reality and what that might mean.
Yeah.
And I really got the message like 2 years ago when I closed my business that no matter what carrot I got, I was not ready to enjoy the carrot. I was not ready to be present with that carrot,
Yeah.
No matter what goal I was thinking I was going to get. Like I knew it so hard, and I just really, and the past 2 years were tough because I did let go of my business, which was dying. And then it was just like there was a lot of real world things that were happening.
Yeah.
And during that, I just knew, like, if I don't go back and look at every shadow that shows up and every moment that I am hiding behind, I'm not really gonna be able to live the way that I think I want to live, and just continually coming back to that. So that's why I really resonated with your practice. I listened to Tara Brach a lot. I'm sure you're familiar with her.
Sure.
I kind of just put her on any old time. Like I put her talks on, and I'll just be around the house. I'll just put her meditations on, and she's just and you reminded me of that. Like you said something about your cells smiling at each other. And that is that's like one of my favorite things. I was like, I love this so much. So how did you find, like, I know, obviously, I mean, we saw each other in New York 20, probably 15 years ago, maybe something like that. But, I'm really curious how you came to come to this practice. And also I'm curious about, I mean, we both grew up in Catholic school, so I'm curious about that too.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot there. Yeah. Well, I came to meditation through trying to use it to get what I want. Which is funny because I ended up completely understanding it, like not using it like that. So I am a composer, and I would have dreams where I would write music that was above my level of writing music when I was awake. So I've had a weird relationship with dreams ever since I was young. I would be able to dream the future, but very insignificant things in the future, like not world events, but just like dumb, stupid things. Oh my God, I dreamt that. And then I would start dreaming like classical music, and I'm not classically trained. And so I started looking into dream analysis, and I started looking into brainwave states, and trying to life hack this dream state flow state that I so effortlessly get into. So how is it possible then, when the brain is completely at rest, it's also the most fully alive? And right, and I still don't think science has answered that question. But my answer was I went to meditation, and I tried at first guided meditations, and essentially I learned to come into a flow state where you let go. You just release, and you stop trying. And when you stop trying, that's when you allow the ideas to come, and you have to stop treating it so preciously. And affirmations help a great deal. You have to tell yourself that you can do it, first of all, that you're worthy of it. And so I learned to let go and just sit at my desk and imagine that the music is already here around me. It already exists. All I'm doing is acting as a channel. I'm catching it like I would catch a fish. It's coming through me, through the keyboard into the computer, or through the guitar into the computer, and record it that way. And for the most part, it's worked out for me. But what happened in the process is it showed me that actually what I care more about is meditation. At least, in this process, in this state of my life, I'm more interested in meditating and teaching meditation than I am in being the next great composer. So, I did get what I want, and in the process, I kind of stopped wanting it too. And I found something better. I found something that is more sustainable for me, spiritually and emotionally and every other which way. So yeah, meditation. And then I started exploring other techniques. I learned Zen meditation. I learned transcendental meditation. And it was only a matter of time before I got my teaching certification. And here we are.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think, do you feel that with the people that you're teaching, because I kind of feel like probably most people come to meditation to get something right? That's kind of how we're, at least in this
Right.
American culture, we're wired. Like, I'm gonna hack whatever and get something,
Yeah.
you know? So it's
Yeah.
like to approach it, for anybody who's interested, basically, it's like not, even if you think you're gonna get something, you will get things.
Yeah.
But but know that, like you said, that openness, that surrender to the letting go of it, the aparigraha, which I love. There's an author, Tosha Silver. I don't know if you know Tosha Silver at all.
Mm-mm.
She's been probably my greatest teacher, I think. Her books, at least. It's her one book is called Outrageous Openness, Letting the Divine Take the Lead, and then the other one was Change Me Prayers. So she does a lot of, like, I just kind of open it to, well, I say open it, I have it on my Audible. She also reads it, which is really nice. She's got a really nice reading voice too. So, but yeah, that openness, that surrender to the process is so much like that. That's something, I think, that's like the true gift, right? If you even can get little moments of that, probably, I'm guessing your students then, who are coming for something to get something, hopefully
Yeah.
will understand that really is, like, more of that is the state that is actually what you're here for,
Yeah. And, the people who seek out a meditation teacher want to meditate, and intention is everything. Like, you have to want it. So I'm not chasing down people to learn meditation, because it's not for everyone. I do believe it would help everyone, but not everyone is on the same path and meant to, do it this time around. So, the people who come to the Tibet house and come to my meditations at Tibet house are already in that family of thought that it's going to benefit them. It's something they want to do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I'm maybe I'm projecting. Usually I feel like if I feel like I'm doing something wrong, right? Like, I'm meditating wrong because I want something, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying. So
yeah.
One of the things I like to try to teach is that let go of the notion that you can do it wrong. Let go of the notion that you are doing it wrong, and that you even can do it wrong. So, your intention to come sit and quiet your mind and be still is tremendously valuable. Like, that in and of itself is, you've already done the hard part. You've stopped and you've sat, right? So I like to teach formal techniques in Tibetan Buddhism, and at the same time, I like to loosen the technique. I like to invite people. I say, well, here's what it is. Here's the formal technique, but you're not married to it. You don't have to become a statue and sit here as some perfect model of the meditator. Tend to your body, get in a posture that makes you feel comfortable, yet still stable enough to not fall asleep. And be free with it. So I want you to come into your heart center and cultivate the compassion that's already there, more than I want you to blindly follow an ancient technique. The techniques are there to serve us, not the other way around.
I love that so much. I love that so much. I've been doing a lot of kind of recircling back to things that I had like lessons and teachers that I had, just kind of like, it's been 10 years. I'm going to come back and revisit some lessons, and a lot about heart coherence and just the heart energy. That was something personally I felt. I just got married recently, so I was like,
congrats.
Thank you. So I was really, I was talking to my therapist about making sure I feel lovable and worthy in those things, healing a lot of past, not great, cycles. And I did. I mean, I broke major cycles in my life, and I've talked about this on the podcast a lot. But the biggest thing that kept coming to me was just like really, truly just honing in on the heart space. And whether it's like heart math, heart coherence, I've been really interested in Joe Dispenza's work. I find his work really interesting.
Yeah.
But like Greg Braden, I really love Greg Braden seems to have just like a giant, you can like, his heart energy, I think, is very tangible, and the way that he speaks. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on like the whole like heart coherence and how that kind of interplays with what you're doing. Because to me, after all the years of study and life experience that I've had, I feel like, circling back, I'm going, oh, this has been the whole point the whole time, really. Like,
exactly right. It is the whole point. Heart coherence is the whole point. And I meditate in order to get back in touch with my heart space and to bridge the heart and the mind once again. I think that's our natural state, is a state of heart-mind coherence. And, we pack on all of these obstructions over our lives that makes us feel like we're separate from each other, makes us feel like, we're rotten or unworthy. And I think what meditation can do at its heart is remove those blockages by bringing us into a state of stillness and silence long enough to see that it's all good and that you're good too. The Buddha teaches at the heart that we are foundationally, fundamentally good. We're perfect and we're complete. So there is no original sin there. And getting back in touch with that is, wow, especially coming out of the Catholic tradition that I know you and I have. So that was a big, very liberating leap to come into that knowledge for me, that, wow, it's just a big misunderstanding. It's all been a big misunderstanding.
Yes.
And heart coherence is the answer. I think the answer to all of our questions and problems is always in the heart. And I know that's maybe a little bit of a cliche, but that is the absolute truth in my experience. The heart knows the answers. Even when there isn't an answer, let it go. Come into stillness, let it go, pause, and breathe, and not every problem is ours to fix.
You're just dropping all kinds of wisdoms here. I love this. I love this. Yeah. It still brings tears to my eyes when you're like, fundamentally good. I think I really internalized that so much growing up and Grant, I know I have several friends who have gone to the church recently, and it was kind of like I had to wrestle with it a bit. And I live in a town that's really, really very Christian. And because of my upbringing and the way that I experienced it, it's like, I'm like, but it's been very healing because I'm seeing a different expression of what we grew up with. I'm seeing really beautiful hearted people take over and do that. So I'll just put that as a little aside because what we grew up with, I mean, I didn't get hit with rulers by nuns. I wasn't in that generation, but they hit my sensitive Cancerian heart a lot, I talk with my husband about it and I was just I am very sensitive. And as a little one, being told that I had already sinned just by being here, I was it has rippled through my life, the worthiness. And I think that message, whether it's through the Catholic Church, it's just kind of like in our culture because everyone's always trying to fix us. There's something, you can't just be who you are. It's like, you need this. And especially it's like, Grant, I love doing my hair and makeup, but still it's like, you need this thing and you need that thing and fix it. It's taken a long time to realize that was a message that kind of ultimately was like, it wasn't the original sin. It was like the original sin against my psychology to tell me that I had sinned just by arriving here, existing. Yeah. You're already, I'm like, what'd I do? I don't understand. How do I fix this? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, I echo all of that. Very much so. There's a shame built into us and kind of this guilt that's thrust onto us, not only through certain organized religions, but societally as well. We're taught that we have a load that we have to carry, and we do have responsibilities, sure, but they don't define us. And when I talk about my ex-Catholicism, I find sometimes there's a tension that I feel in my chest, and I have this. There is a tendency there to kind of trash talk it, and I have to catch myself because that's not what I want to do. And there's even like the Buddha even has this saying where criticizing other belief systems is not beneficial. Kind of like all he said about it. It's not helpful. It's not helpful to my path.
Right.
So, but I will say it is awfully difficult to talk about why I am this way now and why I'm not that way anymore.
Exactly.
My answer again is coming back to the heart space and focusing on what we do have in common, and that's the heart element. Mm-hmm. I had a guy come to my class last week, and he spoke to me after class, and it turns out he's an Episcopalian, and he's in formation in a seminary. And I wasn't expecting that. And he said, we have our own version of meditation in the Episcopalian Church. And, he said that a lot of things I said about love and about compassion completely resonated with him. And he came back to multiple classes.
Oh, nice.
And I just thought, yes, that is the thread. Follow the love, follow the heart space, follow compassion for all beings, and try your best to stay in that space, right? And once we get into dogmas and rules and techniques and stuff, that's where it falls apart. That's where the separation comes. But I will say that that's a delicate line. It can be a delicate line for a lot of people to walk, to believe that you found the path, and that they haven't. And not only that the path that I started off on scarred me, Right. So we have to forgive. We just have to forgive. We have these societal conditions that are packed onto us from the second we're born. Mm-hmm. And part of what life is then is spending the rest of your life unraveling all of that crap that was thrown on us since we were born. And we have to unlearn all these obstructions that we have been taught reality is when it isn't.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think I agree. I think, I was saying, I had, some friends who specifically, I have a lot of Christian friends here. And then I specifically had friends go to the Catholic Church who didn't grow up Catholic. And it really occurred to me then, I always thought this in general with religions, it's the people, it's it's the humans who are doing all the separating and all of that. And how wonderful it is that there is a resurgence of people who won't do that, who aren't one of my best friends who's in the church now, she is one of the most amazing people that I know. And so I'm they're in good hands, it's in good hands. Right. And it's been interesting too, with the book I was talking about with Tosha Silver, she grew up Jewish, but she references all the religions. And that was what was healing for me, is that it was the first time I had one person kind of just go everywhere. Cause that's how I was feeling about, I was this resonates here and that resonates there. And growing up, I had I think during the time that we knew each other in middle school, early high school area, I was right up until that point. Yeah. I was really, really infatuated with saints and all of the mysticism. I was even if I don't know what to do with my life, I'm just going to go become a nun and help people or whatever. That's what I thought. I was I'm going to go to be a missionary or whatever. That was kind of where I felt the call of the heart, right? This
Same. I was going to be a priest when I was younger.
Did you really? That's
yeah. It was that service element that really drew me in. It was that heart space element that really drew me in. It was never the dogma. It was always the being of service and love that pulled me in.
Yes, I love that. And I'm so grateful. Look, I'll go to the grateful side of our upbringing. I'm so grateful, especially Ursuline, their motto was Serviam, was to serve, literally. And I think it stuck with me and most of the girls that I a little bit keep in touch with. It's that's at our core. We want to make sure we're serving others around us. And this is a huge reason why I think I felt the compulsion to do this, and this is my way of trying to serve, is to share as much as, I can in this human journey. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's the thing that's felt best to me. I had wanted to do it forever. I just didn't. I do have so many different areas that I love to talk about, from everything from fighting, not angry fighting, fun fighting, to music, to spirituality, to herbal. I just, I love sharing it all. And I'm very open about my own experience because I've lived with all, depression, anxiety, autoimmune, all of the things. And I only found my way really because other people shared their stories. And that's that was the best way I felt that I could continue to serve, was just to be as human as possible with people and let them know they're in a safe space, and that there's more, I've had plenty of dark nights of the soul where it's you just have you don't see, I did not see a path forward. It's happened many times. I really had to surrender. And but I keep referencing this book. I found it probably 13 years ago or so. And everything that she teaches really is how to surrender, how to let go. And she would just tell a little story and how to let go and how to let go and how to let go. I just kept learning how to let go. And life became more beautiful. I'm not going to say things got easier necessarily. I don't know that I'm on that path. I don't think I was on that path. I think I'm approaching a more easeful path now, I hope. But also, here we are. So I'm very super grateful for having all of the moments that cracked me open in that way, to be able to really look at life, with heart-filled eyes, or, and coming back to that practice. Yeah.
I think everything is usable. I think every single thing that happens to us is actually happening through us and from us, from the perspective of our higher being, inner being, that statement I realize might, touch people the wrong way. That's coming from a place of a non-dual understanding that we are one with the universe, that we have a higher self, an inner being. But I think everything everything comes into our existence as a teacher, even and especially the hard people, even the people we don't like, and the ones that trigger us, and the situations that trigger us. It's all just another opportunity to, at very least, to let go and not react to it, and not be swept away in reactivity to all the same triggers that have kind of held us captive up until this point,
Absolutely. Sorry, keep going. No, please keep going.
No, and it helps us let go and just be, and not avoid the crap that happens in our life. Actually, it teaches us to look at it straight on, right in the eye, but now armored with not being swept away by reactivity to it.
Do you think, I don't know if if you have an answer for this, but do you have an idea of how meditation does that?
Wow.
Just curious.
Well, they say that you're doing, so in a typical Buddhist meditation, you're doing two other smaller techniques. There's shamatha and vipassana. And shamatha means a calm abiding. So you're living in this calm space, and you're noticing your thought formations as they come. And what you're doing in meditation is you're essentially practicing not reacting to it. You're noticing all the thoughts that come. You're noticing all the emotions that come. And you're agreeing with yourself, though, for those 20 minutes on the cushion, you're just not going to respond to it. You're going to see it. It's there, but you're agreeing to not chase the rabbit down the rabbit hole. And that's the shamatha aspect. And that brings you to the next thing called vipassana, which means to see clearly. So once we're able to watch these thought phenomena come and pass without reacting to them, we're able to see clearly the nature of them. The nature of them is that they are not us. They don't define us. They're impermanent. They pass. So those two things together automatically strengthen our ability to let things go. Because that's kind of what we're doing in meditation. We're practicing letting things go, maybe without even knowing it.
Right.
But, what you do more of, you get better at. Like practicing a sport or a musical instrument, meditation is practice. We're practicing letting shit go.
Right. That's such a beautiful explanation. I'm curious how, my brain's like, woo. I frequently, and it's funny in my songwriting too, I always come back to weather. I'm always talking about the elements and weather, whatever, if it's just coming out, and like you said, kind of how I think about, just as an aside with the creativity portion of things, I'll set a date, an appointment with my muse, and sit down and be like, okay, whatever, I don't know, it exists somewhere, whatever will come through. But the idea that, where the sky and everything else is weather has helped me a lot and I'll tell that to, when I'm the elder now at, jujitsu, so I get to pass along wisdoms. And well, if there's somebody who's, if there's, someone who's having a lot of feelings in that sense, this is kind of dual where my question's going is part of it. I feel like it's important to have the connection with our feeling, to feel the feeling without being attached to the feeling.
Yeah.
So it's like,
game changer.
Yeah. So letting it literally run through you. I have to use humor for these things but I'm like, you have to take an emotional shit. You just have to let it, you got to let it out.
Exactly.
And then it's all good. We have to, or doing meditation is taking an emotion or a energetic shower. We shower, we poo, we have to do these things and they're exactly part of everything just kind of continuing to move and letting us not be stuck anywhere. How do you, for the emotional part of things? Because I think that like I almost kind of got to a place where I was so chill with things. And I definitely, as a sensitive soul, would have lots of emotions, and as part of being an artist and writing things out and all that. And I found myself getting so like kind of even that I started to like teeter a little bit too even. I was just like, there was no
Too
fluctuation.
apathetic, you mean?
It was weird. It was like, I think there were just a lot of, especially in the past 2 years, like there were a lot of external stresses going on, like cats being sick or like logistical, like just so many things that I couldn't react to them. I just had to handle what was happening. But because of my practice, I was able to, but I kind of wasn't, when the joyful things were happening, I wasn't getting there. I was kind of like, that is good.
Yeah.
It was sort of like that. So I've been circling back, and this is where I've been coming to the heart space. So now when I sit for meditation, if I feel feelings coming up, I'm trying to just let them to be felt without identifying with them.
Yeah. And that's part of the practice. That's a huge part of the practice, is not identifying with thoughts and the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And that puts great spaciousness in between us and them. That puts agency back in our hands to be able to, I like what you said about becoming the sky and noticing the clouds go by as thoughts and as thought phenomena. That itself is a very ancient philosophy of spirituality called Dzogchen. Did you know about that? Yeah. It's a Tibetan meditation practice, and it involves identifying yourself. Identifying is a tricky word. Seeing yourself as sky and seeing your ego understanding of who you are as just another cloud passing by, and phenomenon and thoughts and feelings are all just clouds, all just phenomenon that are not you. You are separate from it.
It helped me a lot. And that's the thing. Like I know I heard it somewhere, and then I would always kind of, in general, I would just sort of write in terms of weather, like especially emotionally speaking. When I heard that, Dzogchen, you said?
Dzogchen.
Okay. When I heard about that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And it's something that I tell myself when I go through, like if I'm going through just like a depressive time or something, because I had a lot of reasons to have it. It's sort of like, if you think you're depressed, look around, you might be surrounded by assholes, and you're like, okay. So there was some of that. But when I made all the changes in my life and kind of started over, and I didn't have that, and I sort of went through that twice. I sort of like cleaned house once, thought I did it, and then I was like, oh, I have to really overhaul everything, and did that. And part of it, I think, is the emotional muscle memory, for lack of a better term, of that, sort of a season, like a literal season would happen, or a song or a smell or whatever. And I would start to feel, you're like your brain's, we're here again. I'm like, we're not here. But part of it, I just realized is just like you said, we have seasons and cycles, and part of it, I just acknowledge that sometimes I feel like that, and I do like to talk about these things a lot, because I think, especially when it comes to depression and anxiety, people talk about it more and more. I'm very open about talking about it, because I do present, like if you see me out and if I'm talking to you here, I do present like, hi, how are you? And so it can be really confusing to go, oh, well, do you really like to really strip that? I might not show up on the podcast in my depressive state. I probably don't feel like talking very much, honestly. I might not have very I just probably don't want to talk that much. But I think it's important to put that out there, because we do, and I know I do present, I guess the highlight, I present a lot of the things, but there's pieces of us that we all experience that none of us get to see each other at that time. And it's kind of like, yeah, I've been there too. And now for me, I know that I have like a certain period of time, maybe like a few days or a week or so, and I use certain supplements for neurotransmitters to help me. I personally don't take antidepressants. You do whatever works for you, but I like to use SAMe for dopamine and 5-HTP for serotonin. And that helps me a lot when I go through that. So I know that I'm there. And then also I know that I just have to wait a little bit. I just wait. And then so it's like finding the things that I can feel safe while I'm waiting, even if I don't feel joyful or happy or whatever. I at least feel safe, So being in nature for me, it's one of the reasons that we moved to Colorado. I'm right now past the computer, there's just a mountain range. And that for me is everything. Yeah. It's, so no matter what, I can look out and just be like, okay, I'm with nature right now, even though it's
it's such a great, it's crucial to our well-being. I live a block from Central Park, and so I make it a point to always get into the park.
Yes.
Like it's difficult when it gets freezing because I don't love the cold, but it definitely, I know, and you just got to do it. In the summers, I'm there every day in the park.
Yeah.
And
it's so interesting when oh, sorry, go ahead. You take your shoes.
I get some good grounding in. Get my shoes and my feet in the grass in Central Park. It's great. It's healthy. It's beautiful. It's earthing, that whole thing.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I talk a lot about, like you said, I love that you go out in the winter, even though it's tough, but that was probably my first real practice back east when I lived in Westchester still. There was one little park that I grew up going to, and I talk about this pretty often, but I recommend this for anybody who kind of was in a similar situation where they're just like, need a place to start, let's just say, right? So I would walk this land, and it wasn't a lot of land. It was like a couple fields and like a little trail here and there, but I would walk it summer, spring, fall, winter, rain, shine, whatever. I would just go out. And even if I wasn't out very long, I would just go out and I would just walk, and obviously no headphones, because I always like people walking around with headphones on. I'm like, you are literally, you're not in touch with what's going around on you.
Right.
Also from a self-defense standpoint, as a self-defense teacher, I'm like, you're literally just like, somebody can just run up on you. So that aside,
right.
That aside, not having headphones in and just being bored, walking around, looking at things, noticing, it taught me so much. It taught me so much. And I got to see the same bush go through every season, go through the hell of winter, and then bloom again, in the spring and the summer. And then I would just kind of listen to my intuition about like which way to go on these it was very tiny paths. I was like to the left or the right. And I would just practice listening. And when I followed, I would come across like a really cool feather, or I would see an owl, or, so it was these little winks, like.
Yeah, winks. Exactly. Yeah. I see them as little winks, little breadcrumbs, little nudges, reminders that you're right where you belong.
Right where you belong.
I think that's always true. I think everybody's always right exactly where they belong. If you can get yourself to believe that, I think that's also going to help end your suffering. Is if you can come to a place where you trust that you are, even if you don't like where you are, it's still your teacher. It can still take you to where you'd rather be. But, even the sicknesses, those days, I think it's really important that you said you have these days where you're down and you don't feel like showing up. This is why it's so important to talk about those days, because other people will feel seen when they hear you talk through it. And hell yeah, we need each other. Like community, sangha, whatever you've got, friendship, we're here for each other. Now, have you ever considered that bush is also watching you go through your seasons?
It made me cry. I love that. Sometimes. Yeah. I love that, but not often enough. There's a tree there. I have a little piece of its bark with me here, but even when we go back, I go back and make sure to say hi to it. And there's a few trees here. Like there's a local park where we actually got married. And I'm starting to I'll take any flowers that are ready to not be in a vase, and that I'll take and put there and everything, and just leave little hellos and thank yous.
Beautiful.
I love that. Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. I saw the most interesting thing. I find this is the thing when you find little things really interesting, right? When you notice, I think if I could get, anybody listening to do anything, it would be to start practicing the noticing of the little things.
Yeah.
Right.
Good practice. It's a good mindfulness practice as well.
And, like you're saying, I feel like I guess I'm always thinking about the person who's interested, but not sure where to start. Like, I think that's an easy way to make it seem like you're doing something when you're not really doing anything. Right. And then you can kind of slide in there.
To go get in touch with nature is what you're saying?
Yeah. And to just practice noticing things in general. Nature, I feel like,
yes.
Yeah, I think nature is one of the coolest ways to do it, because nature will talk back to you if you talk to it.
It's the great teacher.
It's the great teacher. It really is. And I posted this. I have this one camera that's it's basically binoculars, but it's got a camera on it. It's not the most amazing camera, but it can zoom in on literally the moon. So I'm like, I love it. So my husband and I went hiking in a real random canyon. We actually thought that mountain lions were back there. We were like, was that a mountain? Because mountain lions chirp my
Cool.
I'm child size, so I'm always like, please, I give great pets, please. I'm not food.
Oh,
But so it was like a really remote canyon off of the Arkansas River and like not maintained, and it was spooky, but it was beautiful. It's like not touched. But there was a hawk and I think it was probably a peregrine falcon, but they both flew out together, like following each other. And I always look at the what the animals are doing and like the meaning, like for hawks for me are one of my like my loved ones show up like that and everything. So, but seeing the two that are similar, but not two red tail hawks, it was one red tail and I think a falcon. But the hawk I was able to zoom in on. I couldn't see it when I was zoomed in outside because it was too bright. When I got back, I was like, he was looking up and I didn't see that. Otherwise, I would have looked up to see what he was looking at. But for me, the hawks, whenever I see the hawks as aside from my past loved ones, it's very much a sign of keeping that perspective, right? So I'll talk about like I know when I have mouse vision and I'm like right here looking at things that I have to like pull back and through like hawk vision. And how interesting was it that it was looking up? But I don't know, I just found that,
wow. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
What's that lesson?
yeah, I was like, interesting,
Right.
right? Yeah, I was like, that's so, because I think this is why this is called thought experiment called life, because I'm esoteric to the end. I can't help it. But I'm like, what could that mean? How could you take that and look at that? Like you have the bird of prey who symbolizes that grand vision also looking up.
Yeah. When things like that happen to me, I just have to say, I can drive myself crazy looking at this 1,000 different ways. So I kind of take I take the feeling that means the most to me at that moment, and I just take that to be the lesson. And that too can change. Like in a year, I might look back and draw a different lesson from it. But ultimately, like we're driving this ship, and it's for us to make the sense out of that we make of it. And so no one else really gets to say in how we feel about our lives. That's why I don't really like to take a lot of these tests. The Enneagram test is hot right now. And I used to take Myers-Briggs personality indicator. And having been labeled by external sources all of my life, I've finally freed myself from that and come to a place where I say, well, I don't care how I show up on a test. The only test that matters is the one I give myself, is how I label myself. I think that's really empowering. I mean, for me, that's led me to a great place of liberation and freedom. That I get to be the one to define my own worth.
I love that. I love that so much. I think I definitely in the past couple of years have come to the realization that has made some sense for me, that like I kind of always knew it, that I was like a bit on the spectrum, just like certain things. I have not had like an official and then like ADHD and all of that. I have not had official diagnosis, and I keep delaying it. It helps me sometimes so I'm finding what you're saying interesting in that sense, because I don't know. It's not that I don't necessarily need the diagnosis, but it does make certain things make sense to me sometimes when I have a hard time understanding things. But I think it's like you said, like the personality test and all of that. I think what I'm taking from it is like when we get to know ourselves, that's all we need to know.
That's right. And if these modalities help you know yourself better, then great. More power to you. Then absolutely use them as a tool to help you know yourself better, because that's really what we're doing here. We're trying to know ourselves. We're trying to remember who we actually are and discover who we are, and just maybe recreate or all who we are and all that.
Can you talk to me a little bit about because I listened to which book? Thich Nhat Hanh's. I just recently listened to it. Sorry, 1 second. Remembering. Here we go. The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching. I listened to that recently, and then I wanted to, which I loved, and then I wanted to listen
I've got it right here.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I teach with it. It's a great teaching tool.
I
right
loved it. Well, and that was when I came across it, and I was talking to my husband. I was like, if I were to put a label on how, like my beliefs, I feel like Buddhism is probably that or Taoism. I took a world religion in college and was like, that was the first time I heard like neither good or bad, and I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, right. I
like, I don't
know.
understand. But the practice, the way that I try to show up in the world, it very much aligns with that. So I was like, I'm going to do more, which is why when you do meditation, like I'm very much interested in understanding more of the like official practices. There's actually a meditation center in town that I'd like to go to as well, and just kind of see what it's about.
Yeah.
But the Christ, help me out here. The Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Christ Consciousness, right? Can you talk
Yeah.
to me about that a little bit? I'm very curious about, and especially
Well, I didn't read that book. I just know a little bit about what is generally meant by Christ consciousness, which is unity consciousness. It's this idea that we are all one. We are all of the same collective consciousness. And that the whole experience of being a human here on earth is that this massive oneness, which some people call God and some people call source. You could call that oneness the Christ consciousness or the Buddha heart. And out of that oneness is projected consciousness into each individual human being so that we can have a life here on earth experiencing separation, even though ultimately it's an illusion. Even though this is why they say there is no self. There is no self truly at the end of the day. These are just characters we're playing for now.
Right.
And this plays into the idea of reincarnation, and that when it's all done, we get to choose another role and we get to design what that looks like, and we get to do it again here, maybe on another planet or what. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Right.
But that's the idea
Yeah.
behind the Christ consciousness is that we're unified in this non-dual understanding of reality.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. That's interesting.
It's easier for me at this point to give it over to love and to understand consciousness is fundamental. Like that's all we are is consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness is made of love, you could say, right? But consciousness is the main building block for reality, even physical matter. Yeah, just keep coming back to that love element. Keep coming back to that love piece.
I'm curious about your feelings on like psychedelics and mushrooms and things like that, and how this plays into things.
Yeah, it's a good question. I have done mushrooms a small handful of times, and they were beautiful experiences, and they helped me see a different side of reality, in particular my humanness, my physical body, how I truly believe after having done mushrooms and spending many hours out in the woods, I believe that I'm one with the soil and the trees. And, on an atomic level, we are the same thing. And, they were communicating with me. And it was mind blowing. Now, I don't center my spirituality, if you could use that word, after my experience with psychedelics. They're just another window into all that is. Just another frequency, you can look at it, like of experiencing a different plane of this incredible planet we live on, and beyond just the planet, the universe energetically, vibrationally, all of that. So psychedelics, I am a proponent of. I don't do a whole lot of them. There are more that I would like to try, but again, like not as some. I don't put the weight into them that a lot of other seekers do. I don't think it's them that's doing the work. I think they're just a tool that's helping you see. And I also don't advise developing a crutch, with them. But in the right setting, they can be a fantastic tool. And some of my favorite teachers, like Ram Dass, was a huge proponent of psychedelics. And what are your thoughts?
I think that, like you said, they're a really great tool. I think I've done them a small handful of times as well. So basically, I'll say for me, the first time I tried it, it changed my life completely. It was many moons ago, and I was in a different not-good relationship, and I was just in a place in my life. I was really sick with Lyme disease. Everything just felt like log jammed, and I was probably about 20. I think I was 24 at that time, and I was decorating for Christmas by myself, but my partner, whatever, was in another room or something. And I was just feeling like I didn't know how to leave. I didn't know how to leave. I didn't have the self-worth. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the energy. I didn't have the vision. I just was in this situation. And I didn't think it was good for either of us. It was just mutually not good. I was I've always been anybody who knows me, I have like baby drinks and like I'm very like moderate about everything. And even with this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. So the room is a yellow room and I have like an old like Christmas tree, like the big bulbs, and I'm just like, wow, it was just pretty. Everything was pretty. And I forget what I had on, but I had this very distinct feeling and knowing that everything was about to change. Everything was about to change and that I could do it. And it was like the most wonderful feeling that came over. And I didn't take a whole lot. And that's kind of, I guess, where I don't really take a whole lot. But it was such a wonderful feeling. And I knew everything was going to change. And I did change everything. 2 days later, I changed my life completely.
Wow.
And it was one of those moments that I was like, I think going back to the worthiness piece of things, like I didn't know how to stand up for myself in those ways. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. And I knew I became aware of things that were much bigger, things that I had known back when I was younger, when I was talking about the whole saints portion of things. What's interesting is back when I guess we went to Spain. I went to Spain with Ursuline when I was like 14 or something like that. And right around that time, I was just like super just like esoteric, interested in all of these things. And I was in a cathedral in Spain and the sun was coming through. I mean, it was like out of a movie. The sun was coming through the stained glass and it was crazy where you can like see the, like the little flecks.
Dust
And I'm
particles,
still thinking about it. I got this overwhelming feeling of something bigger. I was like, I could stay here for eternity. I was like, I am feeling God right now. Like, I was like, that's what this has got to be. This has got to be God. What else could this be? So I'm just like feeling this. And then I had been wrestling with the feelings of the side of the church that I was like not feeling. So I'm like, but what does that mean then? I was like,
yeah.
I'm in a church, And so I had this very distinct feeling. And then a few weeks later, I was riding the passenger seat of my dad, who we were driving somewhere and he was driving me. And I'm looking out the window and I'm looking at the sky and the feeling comes over me again, where it was like, I could stay here forever. Everything is perfect. Or whatever, it's that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is just a state. Right. So that has stuck with me, obviously, all of my life. And that's kind of what mushrooms reminded me of, where although it's a more overwhelming feeling, right? You can't just like snap out of it. You're there for a little bit. You are journeying somewhere, right? But that is sort of the same. I was like, oh, I'm like visiting, or I'm tuning into a different frequency. And now, like I was saying with like, the intentional side of things, I really like mushrooms for microdosing in terms of just a cognitive, like it helps me with Lyme fog to just like, I'd sprinkle it in my coffee. Like I'm saying, I don't want to know that it's there. I want it just to do the like awakening. Otherwise it's like too overwhelming. And I like having intentional times, usually around solstice or equinox or something, where it's like, this is this trip, this whatever is dedicated to this, and whatever unfolds from there is whatever unfolds from there. And it's been a really good practice for me to help me. It sort of like changes it's like the little thingy where like when we were young and you had like a little button and it would change the slide. And all of a sudden you're like looking at something totally differently. And I think I'll say for me and for a lot of people I've talked to, it's very helpful when you're able to just break that pattern real quick, look at something totally differently. And if you have that intentionality with it, then I think it can be very transformative. If you're just partying, you might just have a great time, I guess, but which is also transformative. That's great, but I like them for that purpose. And I am interested in other ones. I am scared though. I'm very interested in ketamine therapy. I think I've had a couple of friends I've had a couple of friends who've done it with a therapist. And I'm curious about that for some, certain things that are harder to parse out in our conscious time. Yeah.
Right. Now, I wanted to ask you, when you were talking about that moment with the light coming through the cathedral, are you able to recall that state now at will? Are you able to kind of close your eyes and bring it back?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
I get that. So I look at these experiences, these profound experiences I have as addresses. Like, now that I've been there, now I know the address. And now all I really have to do is go into a meditative state, close my eyes and just breathe for a moment. and then remember that. And really, you call it right back up, and the brain kind of doesn't know the difference. It thinks you're reliving it again,
Right.
which just goes to show everything is conscious. Consciousness is fundamental. We can literally recreate our experiences right here, right now. And so, my experience on mushrooms, I can kind of revisit it when I want to, just for a moment.
Right. Right. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. You don't
It's
have
a
the
lot.
long time commitment of hours, and then it ends on its time when it wants to end.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. And getting there is not, yeah, it's not always the most fun. I love that. I actually been thinking about that. I did my last episode or 2 episodes ago, I did on joy because I was, along with all the heart stuff that I've been doing, I felt very much like I was able to connect with God, the divine, however you want to call it, through despair. I was really good at going, fuck, this is happening. I'm surrendering everything to you because I do not know what to do right now. I can do that all day long. That's what I've done for the past like 15 years or 20 years, whatever. Like that was my practice. Like I have no fucking clue. Please help me.
Yeah.
And I started to go, I was like, okay, though, I don't want to, that's not like, I don't want to keep doing that. I want to connect through joy. I want to connect through love. I know there's another way. Like, I'm learning to feel worthy of that. So help me get there. And on the day we got married, and of course, getting married is great and everything, and everyone could be like, oh, but I've seen some very stressful weddings. So I was very grateful. Like we had a literally joyous day. And both of us, the past 2 years, like I said, were just like really just stressful. And we were like, this is the end of that book where the characters get married. All right. And then we're starting our new, this is what we said. We're like, we're starting our new book, and we gave it like a title and everything. And we're like, all right, that's how we're going to like frame this for ourselves as our own
I
ritual.
love that.
Yeah, it was fun. I love that because he's he's a carpenter from, Ridley, and very practical, whatever, but gets down with me on this level. And I really appreciate it. So, yeah, we set that intention, and the day was just wonderful. Everything was joyful, and I really was paying attention to it as it was happening, to go like, record this feeling, be very aware of this actual feeling in your body, because this is the feeling. This is it. This is joy leading the way right now. And yes, it's your wedding day or whatever, but this is the feeling that can continue to lead the way if you record this and remember it. So when you just said like an address, literally last night, there were some things that we were talking about that were like stressy, and I was like getting stressed, and I was like, okay, no. I was like, go back to the joy address. I love that.
Go back to that address. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the gift it gives to us, is that we can recall it again.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Just circling back to Joe Dispenza, how do you feel about his work? Like, where does that fit for you?
I think it's good work. I believe him. I think it's true. I mean, he also is a proponent of the non-dual understanding and consciousness first. Consciousness is fundamental. It's everything. And he has a broader understanding, taking it into like ETs and extra dimensionals. But the more you go down this rabbit hole of consciousness, you run into those things. You run into people who are really into like aliens and other dimension, other timeline realities and stuff like that. And I think it's all valid. I think and if that's your specialty, then great, more power to you. If you really see consciousness as fundamental to reality, then why couldn't any of those things happen, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm always like, we don't know. We don't know.
We don't.
Well,
we don't know. Could store a warehouse, maybe.
And I think by way of that, I think that the beauty of everything that you're teaching and what we're kind of like talking about here is that we don't know, but love is known when we have it. Right. And that's the known,
it's
that's
evidential. Yes, we have evidence of it. We experience it. We see what it does for us. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have chosen the Buddhist meditation path just kind of as an anchor point for me it gives me something more solid to teach from. It gives me kind of an anchored point of view where I can then go from that and teach how to open your heart from there. Before I found this as my anchor point, I didn't know how to teach love? Like, do I go like the ET route, and do I start, like there's a man who channels allegedly another extra dimensional consciousness called Bashar, this guy named Daryl, right? And like, it blows my mind the stuff he says, because it's all, I'm like, wow, I hadn't thought of it like that. It seems like that's right. It seems like that. Why couldn't that be true? So I didn't know what the avenue was going to be, what the vehicle was going to be for me to use as my teaching platform. And then I found mindfulness, and mindfulness just clicked with me. I said, this is it. And then mindfulness was my entryway into the Buddha Dharma and into all the Buddhist teachings. And they all check out because they're verifiable. It's a verifiable path of how to work with thought, work with your mind.
Well, I think it's a very like sort of practical in the best way path, right? Like
very much so.
Yeah, it's like when I teach any martial arts, whether it's self-defense, like punching and things, or jujitsu, I always try to, how I was taught was to break things down by principles. And that's how I like to teach. And that's kind of how that reminds me, right? Like, these are the principles. Everything else is, like, if I'm teaching fighting, like or jujitsu, like making sure you can control somebody's shoulders and hips, no matter what the move is, you need to know where those are. Otherwise, you don't have control of the person. So similar when it comes to, this path, right? You're keeping things grounded in a way where it cuts out all of the other things. Whatever it is you're doing, make sure you are heart-centered, and
exactly right. Present minded, like here and now, and in your heart space.
Yeah. There's something my sister says all the time. Actually, I feel like you would like this. My sister actually, she's a psychologist. She's Dr. Hotmer. Yeah.
I love Allie. Please send her my love.
I will. I actually did an interview with her too on here. So, but yeah,
I'll check it out. Yeah, I will.
Yeah. She always does something whenever we're together, and she'll just all of a sudden be like, guys, this is a moment in time. And she'll do it. She'll do it a lot. And it's something I've started to just do in my head a lot, because she'll do it, And when she's like, no, like, this is a moment in time. It's just
I like that. I like that
cool?
a lot. It calls to mind, be here now. It calls to mind, like, this is everything. It's all we have is right now, guys. Like, this is a moment in time. That's the line.
Yeah, this is a moment in time. Yeah.
I love
it. She's like, right now, we're going to look back on this and be like, oh my God, remember when? And that's been something that's really helpful in recording those addresses. I love that. And recording those moments. And I think I've at least encountered a lot of people who struggle with the feeling of mindfulness and presence, because they sort of think it needs to be like a total way of life. And if they're not doing it as a way of life, then they aren't doing it right. And then what's the point? And blah, blah, blah. And, and in my opinion, it's their moments in time. It's not necessarily every moment, but if you have more of those moments in time, you go, this is a moment in time, this is a moment in time, right? Then it's easier to snap into that present moment.
To that point, I'll say one of the core teachings of mindfulness is about forgiving yourself and starting over again. That's part of the whole, like, it could be said, you're not doing mindfulness correctly if you're not being gentle with yourself, if you're not forgiving, and be kind to yourself when you have to start over again, meaning, like, in the meditation technique, you're focusing your attention on a primary object. Most of the times it's your breath, but it can be mantra, it can be listening to sounds, it can be chanting, it can be walking, many things. But the idea is that when you realize that your mind has wandered off of that thing that you said you were going to do, the tendency is to kick yourself, to say, shit, I failed. I didn't do it. I had one thing to do and I couldn't even do it. That's the moment where the good work gets done. That's the moment where you have an opportunity to say, so what? So what? It's okay. And we do that by labeling it as thinking. Thinking is a neutral word. So you notice your mind is lost in thought. You label that thinking, and you gently return your attention back to the primary object. And so, you do that in the meditation practice, but you also take that idea with you through life, off the cushion, so that when you're writing a song or driving a car or do something that you identify as a fuck up, you can remember, oh no, I've practiced this. So what? That was just a moment. Come back to the present moment. So it's all about being gentle with yourself, all about forgiving yourself. So much to the point that you recognize that there is nothing to forgive yourself for, because you've done nothing wrong. There are
beautiful.
no accidents, just lessons.
Yeah, that's definitely something I love that. I love that. I will remember that. Yeah. If there's somebody listening who is feeling called to start their practice, what would you say to them?
I would say, great, you can do it. And you're already doing it in ways that you don't yet realize. And I would say for starters, get in the practice of pausing and focusing on your breathing. And it doesn't have to be a fancy breath, an exaggerated breath. You don't have to inhale for 3 and hold for 3 and exhale. Just breathe as you normally breathe. Then make time to be still and make time to be quiet and just be with your breath and let it all go. And if thoughts are intrusive and if thoughts come back, label those as thinking and set a timer. Start off with 5 minutes. Start off with a small piece and tell yourself that for those 5 minutes, you're going to make an agreement with yourself. This is easy, really. We don't have to make a big masterpiece out of it. So for these 5 minutes, I'm going to focus on my breath. And when my mind wanders off the breath, so what? And just return your attention back to the breath and see what that does for you. And you can build it from there. You can lengthen it. And I would also suggest choosing the same time every day to do it and the same place in your house to do it. This way you can just bake it into your schedule so you don't have to think about it.
Right.
Something that's an obstacle for people is like, well, when am I going to fit it in? When am I going to do it? Where am I going to do it? Well, choose a place and choose a time and just wake up a little earlier. I do my first sitting right when I wake up. Alarm goes off, I wake up, use the bathroom, and then get to the cushion. I know that's just, it's already accounted for. And if I'm traveling that day or if I have to wake up early, well, guess what? I'm waking up a half an hour earlier now. You just know that it's going to be part of your thing.
And you have kiddos, right?
Oh, I have no kids. No.
Oh, I thought
you thought I was a father?
Yeah, I thought for some reason you said you were a father.
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, how do you do that with kids?
No, it's just me and my husband. We don't even have pets. It's just the two of us.
All right.
He does not meditate, but that's okay. That's also okay.
That's okay.
That's permissible.
Oh, for some reason I thought you had kiddos. I don't know why. Because I was going to say, like, I think of, people with kids, if they're like, so in my humorous way, I would be like, wake up, go pee, close the door, have 3 to 5 minutes of, that's your morning time. You know what I mean? Like if you have to, because I know, kids immediately are like, I need things. I mean, I know my cats join me. Usually I sit down, they fight over my lap. And we just sit, and then usually they determine how long I'm going to sit. So
I get that.
Yeah.
So I guess what I would say to you, I would encourage you to just know that you can find the time.
Yeah.
The time does exist in your day. You just don't know. You have a look at your downtime, see moments where you're on your phone. That's the biggest one.
That's the biggest one. Right.
Right. And just use that. Like borrow 5 minutes from that. In my training, I was coached to tell new students to practice their first, like when they're getting into it, to make it a 15-minute period. I think that might be a little too long for someone who is kind of ambivalent and doesn't really know if they want to get into it or not. I think 15 minutes might be too intimidating and might scare people away. Yeah. So I'll say any time is better than no time. Start with 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
I would agree with you. And Allie and I used to do workshops. We would do guided meditations. I would do Reiki over people. And we did this back in the day. And and something like, I think at least for the people that we had, a lot of times having something guided to start was helpful because it gave them something, like to just kind of pay attention to this real quick. and then if you just let them float thereafter, right? Like, I'm just going to guide you in and now you're on your own,
Right.
Right. Yeah. And like how
I do that in class too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say to anybody listening too, if they're interested, to come to your classes too, because that was wonderful. I really liked how you did 3 different practices. Some of my favorite. I was so happy you did metta. I was like, that's one of my favorites.
All about the metta.
It's all about that metta. Yeah.
That's loving kindness meditation. For those of you who don't know, it's a very heartfelt practice where it teaches you to really expand your heart and just reach into your ability to extend unconditional compassion to all beings, starting with yourself. And it is so lovely.
Yeah, I think it's a magical practice too. There have been
Mm.
times in my life where there's been conflict, or if I'm fighting with somebody or something like that, and I will just use that meditation to infuse the situation with as much loving energy as possible. And really beautiful things happen typically after that, partly because I put myself in a better space.
Right.
But it's magical. I don't know how else to say. It's
I would
beyond
say
our
that
understanding. Yeah.
I think it's primarily because you put yourself in a better space.
Yeah.
I would say that that's foundationally why things get better for you, is because you took initiative to put yourself in a higher vibrational space.
No, it's really important what you're saying. I think that goes along with everything that I feel that I am relearning and learning with all of the Joe Dispenza stuff too. And like I said, Greg Braden, the heart-centered part of it, right? We have this, and I don't say this lightly to be like, we have the choice to put ourselves in a better place, right? Like I do understand when that is not something that feels like it's doable for a billion reasons, right? But the beauty of our imaginations and our consciousness and meditation is that it's possible, even if it's for that little second, it's possible.
Exactly right.
And it really, right, like, and doing the meta meditation is like one of the best vehicles to get you there, I feel like. So yeah, I love that you did that, and the way that you structured things, and there was some guidance, and then the sitting, and then like you would touch base with us again, and then we go back in. And I thought that even for somebody starting, I feel like that is, even if they only hung out for like the first portion of it or whatever, if that's all they could do, they would get so much out of that, because it was incredibly grounding. Yeah, it was really, really beautiful. I obviously loved it, which is why I was like, we should talk more.
Thank you. Thank you for that feedback, Greta. I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
I try to make my classes accessible to beginners and experienced meditators alike. And I offer private sessions too. So maybe you can put my email or sign up links in the podcast, and I'd be happy to take personal clients.
Oh yeah, I absolutely will. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The word client strikes me as odd.
I was like, personal clients.
Well, they're not patients. They're not clients. What are
students?
Students. Let's settle on students.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you just kind of rolling with where this path is taking you, or do you have?
Yeah. I'm rolling with where this path is taking me, and I'm like still doing things like website design, and I'm still doing things like structuring like what this really looks like moving forward for me. So those details are coming into place. I'm not worrying about them. I'm on it, and it's fun just to see where this goes. So far, so good.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Greta.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. I would love to have you on anytime. And if there's anything that you want to, like, if you have things that are going on that you want to share, with my audience in terms of like certain meditations and stuff like that, I really am, as I've said already, like utilizing this as a way to share resources and tools and insights. And it doesn't have to come from me. I want to be I'll be the resource broker. Here's some cool thing. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely somebody who likes to, you should meet this person, and you guys should go there and do these. I'll be at home in my jammies. Yeah.
A bringer of connections.
I don't know. It's just fun. There's just things I get excited about. Yeah. Yeah.
You're good at it. It's noble, and it's even better. It's you. It's just,
I find it interesting, at least, I find it interesting. And I think also when it comes to people who are doing things, having had my own business and being self-employed, being somebody, my own self, representing myself in the world, right? I think it is one of the best things that people did for me, to be like, oh, you should go find her shop or her whatever, so to connect people and go, oh, I know somebody who you might love to go to their meditations, right? Like, oh, you're in the speaking kind of time in your life, like, check this out, or there's this resource. If you're not ready for that, try that, I think that's such a value, especially when we're inundated with marketing that isn't necessarily, this is like heartfelt marketing, not corporate marketing, right? Yeah.
Heartfelt marketing, right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, just thanks for doing this. Thank you for having me on. This was great for me.
Oh, this was great for me too. Thank you so much. I'm kind of like emceeing.